Hi everyone and welcome back to From Scratch with Love. Today is a special episode on corned beef and cabbage for St. Patrick's Day. Stick around, you're gonna love it. So as we all know, corned beef and cabbage is a pretty traditional thing to make for St. Patty's Day. But the traditional way of doing it, to be honest with you, is kind of bland. So today I'm gonna show you a method I learned when I lived in the United Kingdom. Now this is something that I've only ever seen done in London. To be honest with you, I've never seen this done in Ireland before. But this is something that I think you are going to embrace and love, and it's going to change your perception about this dish, okay? So let's get started. What I've done here, I've got my electric burner going, and I've got some potatoes here that are coming up to heat, okay? And they are in this liquid. I've got some beef, this is beef stock, and I've got some red potatoes. Red potatoes are not traditional, and I've also got some cremini mushrooms here, baby portobellos, some carrots, our cabbage, our corned beef brisket, all right, and I'm gonna get some celery. Celery, okay, is an aromatic, and we use it in a lot of stuff, so we're gonna use that here today. So 2 big ribs of celery, right, just like that, okay, just 2 big ribs. All right, that's all we need. We don't need too much more than that. And then also, in addition to that, we're going to be using some salt and pepper, some rosemary, and some Irish stout. Now, do I have celiac disease? Absolutely. Is that gluten-free Irish stout? You're damn right it is. Okay, so if you have the same health issue that I do, same autoimmune disease that I do, it's really difficult to drink beer. You either have to get it, so it's made from like sorghum or something like that, or you have to get it where it's made on a dedicated facility that doesn't have any wheat cross-contamination, okay? This is Guinness. This is from Ireland. It's imported. If you can find it, it's Guinness Original, and it is certified gluten-free. Now, it's not readily available in the United States. I was lucky enough to get a case of this last St. Patrick's Day, so I've had this for a year. And we're just gonna get started. So I'm gonna boil these guys, parboil them, cut them up to heat. And what I'm gonna do with this, with our corned beef, okay, is I'm going to rub it in a spice mix with our rosemary and some pickling spice, some traditional pickling spice you'll see with all corned beef. I'm going to go ahead and get all that, chop all these vegetables. You've seen me do that 100 times.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and break these vegetables down. I'm just going to do this real fast here. Big chunks of celery, we're going to have our mushrooms, and then we're going to core this cabbage. And I'm just going to partially core it, because we don't need the whole thing, into big chunks, and then larger chunks so we have some variety. And then an onion, cut it in half, and then we're going to put it into about half-inch pieces. Again, this is going to braise for a while, so we don't need massively impressive small pieces of onion. Next thing, put everything into a roasting pan, and then put all our seasonings together.
So next on our list is pickling spice. Now what is that? Typically, if you buy a piece of corned beef, you're going to get a little packet like this, okay? Now you can use this included packet, but what this basically is some mustard seeds, a little bit of red pepper flake, some garlic, a couple of other things like that. So we're just going to use this. This was included with our corned beef brisket. I did not corn this beef myself. We will do an episode on that. All right, so we just want to put that in there. Now, we're going to need more seasoning than this. This isn't enough, okay? That's where most people make their mistake, in that they think what's included with their purchase is everything they need. Well, that's not true. So we need some salt, we need some black pepper first. This is about 6 good solid turns, all right? And then we need some salt, not a lot. There's already plenty of salt in that meat, okay? And then what we're going to do is get our part of our braising liquid in here. This is our beer, okay, our stout, all right? And then we're gonna add one more component. We are going to add some Irish whiskey. Now the whiskey similar to making a barbecue sauce or any other sauce, is going to allow us to get a nice caramelized character with our meat. So this is just about 3 ounces of Irish whiskey.
So that's our whiskey going in, and I'm just going to speed through the rest of this, kind of at 3 times speed. And there's our beef stock going in. The beef stock, just like any other braise, you want to fill it up about 3/4 of the way, and just make sure that you leave enough room for your potatoes there. I want to keep that big because we're going to turn those into mashed potatoes later, and they're going to be amazing. So then we're going to cover this with some aluminum foil, put it in a 325-degree oven for about 2.5 to 3 hours, and I will see you at that point.
All right, so your next question might be, why are we braising this? Why aren't we just doing the traditional method, right? Why aren't we just boiling it like you've seen on countless other cooking shows? Well, the thing is, when I first had this, I thought, oh my God, this is so cool. Braising, and this is similar to a technique you would use for boeuf bourguignon or anything like that, gives you unique flavors that you can't get a lot of times. And if you just sear something and then boil it to death, it doesn't retain its same character. So that's why we're doing this. Now, traditionally, corned beef and cabbage, it's bland, it's tasteless, and it comes in like a clear broth. And that's fine. If you like that, great. But I promise you, this is 1,000 times better than anything you've ever had before. The great thing about this is that corned beef, okay, is going to not only get nice and soft and fork tender, but it's also going to stick together. It's going to hold together. It's not going to fall apart. But it's going to have the same tenderness as something that had been boiled for 2.5 hours. And the fat's going to render, and we're going to get this wonderful, like, reduced gravy, because that stock and that beer and that whiskey and all of those aromatic vegetables are going to make this amazing gravy that we can pour over top of it and use those red potatoes as this beautiful smashed potato presentation, and they're so delicious, okay? I can't wait to show you this in a couple of hours. I'm going to go play with the dogs, and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so thanks to a viewer request literally from Ireland, coming in at the last minute, I'm going to make a couple of things that are more traditionally Irish than corned beef and cabbage, because that's not really a thing in Ireland proper. So this is we're gonna do gluten-free soda bread. I was editing, so and we're gonna do some boxty. Now, what boxty is a potato pancake that is served primarily at breakfast, lunch, things like that. But first things first, we're gonna make some soda bread. So I have here 2 room temperature eggs. I've got some yeast, and I've got a gluten-free flour mix that I'm going to use. And the first things first, though, I have to get the yeast to bloom. Okay, so just like any other bread mix we've ever done, put the yeast in, warm water, throw in some sugar, put in the eggs, put in the flour, mix it up. I'm going to go ahead and do that, probably speed through this. We've done dough a few times. And then we're going to let it rise. But the liquid we're going to use in this, instead of water or soda water or anything like that we did in pizza dough, we're going to use Guinness. And beer is going to give us our consistency and what we need. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and burn through this, and I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, so we're going to begin our bread dough here, and I am going to put our yeast into the bowl. All right, so there it is. Next thing, warm water, so about 105 to 110 degrees. Okay, and then I'm going to add some sugar to that. I'm going to use honey because yeast likes sugar and it eats it. So we're going to put some sugar in that bowl here in a second, because I completely forgot what I was doing. Anyway, here is our honey. Okay, and it's just regular orange clover honey, pretty normal in soda bread. All right, now we're going to let that sit for 10 minutes, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, we're back. I've got some Irish butter here, unsalted. Good stuff. Yeah. I'm going to get that melted. I've already cracked my eggs, and we're going to move on here. You can see I've jumped forward here a bit. I've got my butter melted, and I'm going to put that in after I put my flour mix. You're going to see me drop it here because, you know, that happens. It's real life. It's not perfect. Eggs are going to go first, and then we want to keep, try to put as many of those, try to get those in or as early as possible. I showed the melted butter first here, but no, we're going to go with the flour first because that's what you want. Now this flour mix is just brown rice flour, white rice flour, same basic mix I use in almost anything. Now the melted butter, and there are my there are my hands. So good stuff in there. Excellent job. And after the melted butter goes in, we're going to put in our Guinness. That is a 12-ounce bottle, so about a cup and a half of beer. Now, ordinarily that would be water or milk, but we're using the beer for this. And now we're going to go ahead and mix this up, and I'll see you soon. All right, we're back. Speed through this. Just mix it up with a spatula, get it nice and incorporated, and then we're going to put it on some parchment paper. We're going to wrap it in the parchment paper and then put it inside a plastic bag and let it rise for an hour, at which point we will take it out of the parchment, stick it in a 400-degree oven for another hour, and we'll have soda bread. Excellent stuff. All right, up next is our Boxty. Now, Boxty is just an Irish word for potato pancakes. So we've got our remaining red skin potatoes that we have boiled. We boiled those for another 15 minutes, and they're cooked all the way through. Next thing I'm going to do is grab a box grater, and then I'm going to grate these potatoes. And after I grate those potatoes, I'm going to add some cheese, some butter, and a little bit of our gluten-free flour blend, and salt and pepper, and that's it. And we're going to go ahead and fry those up. All right, we're going to go up to 400% here. So you can just see me grating those potatoes. Now, we're not going to use all of these. We just want about half a pound to a pound, and that kind of depends on what, how many potatoes you got. Next, after this, I'm going to put some eggs in it. I forgot to mention that. 2 eggs, and then I'm going to put some melted Irish butter in. Again, the unsalted stuff, and then the flour and our seasoning blend. There's our pepper. There's our salt. Potatoes do need quite a bit of salt, even if you do season them in the boiling water. There's our butter. Go ahead and melt that. Bring that back to the party. And then we're going to mix it up and add some aged Irish cheddar to the mix. And then these have enough fat in them to kind of cook on their own. But you may want to add a little bit of extra fat to the pan, and I'll show you here in a minute. And it's just like making latkes or any other pancake, really. It's you fry it in butter or a nonstick pan until they're crispy brown on one side and then crispy brown on the other. I'll get to that in a minute after these are mixed up. Real easy stuff. You're going to love them. They're great for quick breakfasts or really dipping in anything. They're just one of the best things Ireland has to offer. All right, so let's start making our potato pancakes. I've sped this up quite a bit. I'm going to get my electric burner out. It's a little dirty. I should have cleaned it. That's on high, so I'm going to heat that. That is an aluminum non-stick hard anodized pan, triple layer Viking non-stick pan. It's really great. I'm going to put in some Irish butter there. You can see it melting. It's pretty warm. That electric burner does get quite hot, and Gracie's terribly interested in what's going on here. Just like any other pancake process, your first one's probably going to be sacrificial. And then, the rest of them are going to turn out great. Anyway, so you want to mix them up a little bit again, and then you're going to drop them kind of like biscuits. Okay, so you can see me here. I'm going to take a spatula, put it in there, and then I'm going to flatten it out with the butter there. And then we're going to go ahead and cook that on one side until it's nice and golden brown. And through the magic of film with a snap of my fingers coming up, we've done them all. Nice, crispy, brown, perfect. All right, so now we've got our bread. It's risen. Now it looks like crap coming out of that parchment paper, but we did that because that paper is non-stick. So all we're going to do is leave it on that paper, put it on a preheated baking sheet that has been in that oven preheating at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it is going to stay on that sheet as we shape it with a silicone spatula, just like that. Throw it back in the oven after a dusting for about 40 minutes, and we're good. All right, next up. Oh, yeah. That is our corned beef brisket coming out of the oven. Look at that steam. Nice and rendered and crispy and caramelized and just gorgeous. All right, so now we're going to take the potatoes out of that. We're going to make some smashed potatoes. I'm going to use about 4 tablespoons of butter here, and that's unsalted Irish butter again. Put it in there. Some salt, and then some buttermilk. It's going to make them nice and creamy and get a little bitey. And there's that aged Irish cheddar again that we used in the potato cakes. And it's just going to smash them, and it's going to melt it just fine. Those potatoes still have plenty of heat in them. There's the buttermilk, and we're just going to nice and smooth, taste them, see if we have enough salt. And nope, so we need more. There we go. And all right, that looks good.
Okay guys, thank you for joining me today on this special St. Patty's Day episode. This is our soda bread here. I showed you how we made it. It took about roughly 2 hours between making the dough rise, as I said in the voiceover, and then baking it. The gluten-free Guinness there really kind of adds a double yeast component to it as well, which is kind of cool, makes it lighter. Typically, this kind of bread, Gracie, excuse me, I have some admirers here, is dense because it's a quick bread, but this is much lighter. You can see how flake. Gracie, stop. She thinks this is cute. Apparently it is. Okay, look. Do you want some bread? Here. You can each have a piece of bread. There, that's it. All right, anyway. And then we have our Boxty here. And the Boxties are just, like I said before, potato pancakes. But they're really, really good with this. Normally they're a breakfast food. We can dip them in our jus. And like I said before, braising that corned beef, you see how easily you can just cut it with a fork. And it's not only fork tender and falls apart, it's like simultaneously still intact while it can be completely melt in your mouth. Delicious. And then our potatoes underneath here that we made from our roasted redskins and the Irish cheddar. Oh my God. Okay, so please use this technique when you're making corned beef. Don't do the boiling thing. This is okay. The bread with the jus and the potatoes. Holy crap. Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. You have yourself a wonderful holiday. Sláinte.